how you can recognize and hear bass notes and chords. So now when you play and learn the bass, you can apply all the same exercises as I previously mentioned for practicing right hand. The only difference here is that you might want to sing one octave higher than you actually play the bass. So if I play a melody like this, I will sing it one octave above, like this. This can be a bit hard starting out, so make sure to adjust it by doing a tiny bit easier variations, playing the left hand at first. Now there is also a specific exercise I very highly recommend for the left hand, and that is so you can recognize the chords. Keep in mind, just as you can feel different melodies, you can also feel different chords. Number 1 will always release the tension, and the chord 1 will also release the tension. And also a combination of different numbers will create a feel that's always the same no matter the key. I really like the chord progression 4, 5, 6. Do you hear how it's kind of tension that's rising and getting stronger and stronger? Tension, tension, tension. If I play this in another key, for example D major, do you hear how the feeling is the same? We can choose a third one, F major. Same chord progression, same feel. So here again, you want to think about the why rather than the what. 4, 5, 6 will always create the same feel, but depending on the key, the chords can be different. Now for the first exercise, I want you to choose a part of the melody you work on. And I want you to repeat it over and over again. As you do, play different chords with your left hand and try to imagine the sound before you play it. If I start playing 4 in the left hand, and I will play 1 next, I know that 1 will usually release the tension, so most likely this will create a tension relief. Oh, nice, right? I know that 6 usually sounds a bit more sad and emotional, so this will most likely make the melody create that feel. Ooh, beautiful, right? 5, I think, can create some tension. It usually wants to go somewhere. Yes, it wants to go somewhere. What happens if we go to 1? It releases, right? Nice. And as you play, you will recognize different numbers by different feelings. And if you just try to hear it before you play, slowly you will get very comfortable recognizing all the 7 chord numbers. You should also listen to music and play around with only taking out the chords. Start with very slow songs and progressively progress the harder ones. Keep in mind that you can recognize chord numbers in isolation, but you can also recognize chord progression. So when you listen to the song, always try to imagine the chords before you actually play, so you build this mental representation to having your piano inside your head and knowing what to play even before you touch the keys. And now the third final exercise is definitely my favorite one. You want to compose a short melody with your right hand. Now as you play it, I want you to try to feel when you would want to play a chord underneath. I really feel like something should happen on the first note, and I really feel like I want to add some weight on the A note here, and the last G note. So I know I want to add 3 chords. Now I want you to do this in your head. You are not allowed to play the chords. Let's add C, which is 1, F, which is 4, and G, which is 5. To me, 1 usually feels like home. It feels very safe and a very good starting point. 4 usually feels very hopeful and a little bit heroic. And 5 for me is the most emotional of them all. It creates so much emotion, so much sadness, and so much tension. We start on 1 here, feels very safe and nice. We go to 4, it's a little bit more emotional, a little bit more hopeful. But as I go to 5 here, it's not emotional. It's not the most tension-driven chord I've ever heard. I was wrong. So now I know that how I imagine 5 is very different from how it actually is. It sounds more uplifting, more happy to me, and a little bit like it wants to go somewhere. So now I'm starting to change my perception of 5 and building a better mental representation of how to hear the chords. So now we can listen to it again. Nice, beautiful. And those are 3 very great exercises for hearing left-hand chords. Now, just as with the right hand, you can progress them by doing longer repetitions. You can progress them by doing harder movements, choosing number progressions you're not used to hearing, but you can also progress them by limiting yourself to the amount of numbers you play. Start with just playing 1, 2, and 3. Once you get comfortable recognizing the difference between the 3, you can add 4, 5, 6, and so forth.